Riot released 16 studio albums since they were founded in 1976. Ranking them is a difficult task. I'd expected I could easily divide the albums in 3 groups: the classics, the good ones and the less essential. But as I got into details listening to all of them again, the borderlines between these groups started to dissolve. Suddenly I didn't feel so comfortable anymore. Whatever, I'm giving it a try today, supported by another beautiful lady for the album cover presentation. When the cover song, in this case George Harrison's Here Comes the Sun, is the best remembered track from the album, the new compositions can't be that good. Too much mid-tempo and hardly exciting. The last album from the Mike DiMeo era is lacking freshness somewhat. Still, Army of One has its moments, like the Whitesnake Alive in the City and the beautiful instrumental Stained Mirror. Released in 2018, the most recent album by the band. Countless other releases, from vinyl reissues to demos, bootlegs and box sets, show how very much alive the name Riot still is, after several of their ex-members passed away. Armor of Light, though, sounds a bit too much like the typical European melodic speed metal. It lost a bit of originality. My favorite tracks are Heart of a Lion and Caught in the Witch's Eye. Riot had plenty of time to record and mix The Privilege of Power, unfortunately. In the end it was so overproduced it's almost unlistenable. The brass instruments and progressive ideas were a bit weird for a metal album already, but the worst thing is when you're sitting there wishing the radio noise intro would stop and the song finally begin.
I just can't take this anymore.
That radio samples thing was certainly an influence of the time, when you had many thrash bands on MTV who used cuts from the news in their videos. Better listen to the basic form of the songs, I mean the demos, which are available on the compilation Archives Volume 4. Some great songs like the melancholic Twist of Fate or the rainbow-like Sons of Society. Some I like less, like the ballad Cover Me. Good album, but I haven't got room in my top 10 for it. On the Nightbreaker album, Mike DiMeo replaced Tony Moore on vocals. In the end, Mike would do 6 albums with Riot, more than any other singer. And he was also singing on most Riot live gigs I've seen, thus he became kind of the definitive frontman to me. Many fans have a different point of view. I suppose if you knew Riot since the Guy Speranza days, you've got a feeling of nobody can ever replace him. Such is life. For me, Nightbreaker deserves a position in the middle of the field. In 2014, this was the first album without any founder members after Mark had passed away and the name had to be changed to Riot V. Of course, there was a danger that the fans might see this new lineup as not the true Riot anymore. But the record was fortunately made in good taste. Some songs like Metal Warrior or Return of the Outlaw refer directly to the band's classics. Playing safe, but experiments surely weren't asked for. Musically, it was definitely a good continuation. The debut from 1977, at a time when disco music ruled the clubs of the East Coast. Riot were hailed as the inventors of American power metal. Songs like Warrior and Rock City are here to prove, while others, like This Is What I Get, sound as old as they are. The 10th studio album by the band. After the successful tour in Japan, Riot would release their live album Shine On to celebrate this era, and a great one it was. Inishmore is a concept album about Ireland, and the special musical touches for that with string arrangements and a little bit of fiddles are a lot more subtle than they'd been on Privilege of Power. Inishmore is a very round album. Once you've finished it, you immediately want to listen to it all over again. This is an album which moved up a few places in my list after playing it again. The more powerful tunes like Vigilante Killer and Heavy Metal Machine impress. And if Riot try and be a bit more catchy, in You Burn in Me for example, it's all well balanced. From the two albums Red Forester did, this is the rougher one, with tunes like Hard Lovin' Man and Lone Shark. It surely was hard to produce a worthy follow-up to Fire Down Under, but Restless Breed does pretty well. What's it gonna take to make you Riot, the opener asks, and the answer could well be Immortal Soul. Tony Moore was back in the band, and the band really resurrected all their strengths of the 80s.
Flawless victory.
Fun with a capital F, but it was going to be the last album with Mark on guitar. The title of the second album indicates that the band was more impressed with the reactions they got from Japan than in their home country. And indeed, as early as 1979-80, Riot's career took a strange turn into becoming an eternal underground favorite, also in Europe. With songs like Waiting for the Taking, Kick Down the Wall and Road Racing, Narita was an improvement on Rock City, less stuck in the 70s but confidently looking to the future where the best was yet to come. It's usually extremely difficult for a band to change their vocalist. When Judas Priest replaced Rob Halford by Tim Owens, they lost 3/4 of their audience. For Riot, however, my top 3 albums have 3 different singers. Their music survived many lineup changes, which speaks for extraordinary songwriting skills you can also witness here. Like Nightbreaker, Brethren of the Longhouse was an album released in Japan only before it got a European deal. Fans who couldn't wait for that had to get it on import. Brethren of the Longhouse is the most underrated Riot album to me. It has a good concept, tasteful music, interesting lyrical subjects. It just does everything right. The Gary Moore cover fits in perfectly as if it were written for Riot. I filmed the band on the tour for this album in 1996. You can find some live songs on my channel. The first Riot album I bought. This made me a Riot fan at the end of the 80s. Songs like the title track Thundersteel or Sign of the Crimson Storm are still causing goosebumps. Simply one of the most important US power metal albums ever. It was so heavy for its time, 1981, that the record company refused to release it at first for not being commercial enough. But finally it became a success, and Swords and Tequila, Outlaw or Altar of the King lost nothing of their appeal 40 years later. Thanks for watching and see you next time round.